Hey, beautiful people. So, in this video, I want to share with you what I would do in the next 3 to 6 months if I wanted to move abroad. And I'll be sharing from the lens of someone who is currently living abroad, meaning who has left the US. And I've been living abroad with my family since 2024. We left, my husband and I, we left with our 10-month-old at the time, and we're currently also expecting. And we've been pretty much based in Thailand, but have been like slow traveling throughout Southeast Asia, but I've been traveling for the past decade. And so I want to share from just a normal person's perspective, right, of what I would do if I wanted to move in 3 to 6 months. And I know 3 to 6 months from a realistic perspective or point of view, it seems like tomorrow. It seems like such a short period of time, but it can be done. When my husband and I decided to move abroad, we did the planning stage of things took really 30 to 60 days, really. Like, we were out of there. And so I'm going to share with you what I would do, right? The first thing is, by the way, y'all, out here is hot. So I'm going to try to go through this video as quickly as possible and as non-sweaty as possible. My mic is still on. Okay. But anyway, one of the first things that I would do is I would first decide. Okay. First decide before you even start planning. I know, you may be thinking, oh, you need to plan and all of this. Yes, planning is a part of it, but it starts with the mindset, right? Of first deciding that this is what you're actually going to do and not choosing, okay? Because choosing and deciding, it sounds the same, it seems similar. They are similar, but they're two different things. So when you choose to do something, choosing is more value based, right? It's value driven and it's like preference based, right? So choosing is preference based and value driven, and deciding is conclusion based and action driven, which means that once you decide to do something, it's a wrap. It's a done deal. There's hardly anything that's going to change your mind, right, from that thing that you've already decided to do. Okay? And it's action driven. So the planning stage is going to be even easier. It's going to make the planning more smoother because you've already decided that this is what you're going to do, versus it just being a choice. A choice is just preference. Like, yeah, I would prefer to live, my choice or my preference is to live here than to live here. But deciding, it's a wrap. And so it starts with the mindset of deciding that this is what you're going to do regardless of the challenges that may come with it. Because if you don't decide, when challenges come, you may just say, okay, forget it. This was my choice. I would have preferred to live here, but forget it. So the first thing that I would do is decide that this is what I am going to do for these reasons. Whether you want to have a better quality of living, right? Whether you are tired of, I don't know, the weather, most people don't just move abroad for the sake of weather, but whether you're tired of microaggressions, maybe the cost of living, just like the lifestyle, the rat race type of lifestyle, whatever that reason is for you and your family, decide that you are leaving, and these are the reasons why you're leaving. And then you start to plan. Now, when it comes to the planning stage, don't overthink things. Now, it may sound contradicting because it's like, okay, when it comes to planning, you want to make sure that you're crossing all your T's and you're dotting all your I's, right? But once we start to overthink, it makes things more complicated, okay? I'm going to actually give you some practical examples and things that we have done as well, because I don't want this video to just be like surface level. First things first, if you have a home, let's start there. Let's just jump right into that, okay? Without any fluff. If you own a home and that's one of your biggest or bigger assets that you're worried about, I am telling you right now that it is still possible to move abroad even with a home. Okay, I bought my first home at 23, and I eventually moved out of that home, rented it out, put it on short-term rental, on Airbnb, moved out of state. So don't ask me how I did it, but eventually, after a few years of living in that property, I decided to move out of it, make it a full-time business, and we were able to manage that property out of state. I was able to manage that property. I bought the home before I got married or anything. I was only 23, and then eventually got married, and we were able to run it out of state because we implemented the right systems, the right people, cleaners, automated systems, different things like that. If you don't want to do short-term rental because you are away, it can be a little bit more complex. I understand that. You can just rent it out long-term and just get a property manager who will manage the collection of the rent, or if something were to go wrong, like plumbing or whichever, your tenants aren't calling you while you're abroad or while you're traveling. They reach out to the property management company and they take care of it. And typically how that would work is the property management company would get usually a percentage of the rent. So whether that's 15% is typical, 20%, 25%, depending. Okay, so you would of course want to factor what your mortgage is, okay, how much the rent is, so that of course you're making some profit, you know, having some cash flow monthly, and some for vacancy, put aside some for vacancy, and some for, of course, if things were to go wrong, and some for, of course, the property management company, so that you can live your best life abroad and not stress about real estate. And that is only if you really want to keep your property. The other option is to, oh, by the way, you can also do short-term rental as well with living abroad. If you also have, let's say, a short-term rental property management company managing everything for you, this is possible. Again, we did it for a few years of living out of state, never went back to the property for years, you know, while having that property on short-term rental, because again, we implemented the right systems and it just worked. So this is something that you can do. Now, if you don't plan on keeping your home, the other option is to sell it. Sometimes we get so attached to real estate, and real estate can be a beautiful thing. It made me six figures, to be honest, especially when I decided to sell that home, close to six figures, right about six figures in profit. And I didn't have any capital gains because I lived in that property for the minimum time that the IRS requires you to live in the property before. So selling it can be a great benefit to you, because that money you could, you know, depends on how much your property appreciated, you could possibly put that in a long-term investment, you know, add it to your portfolio, and that could be a part of your retirement, right? Especially if you're closer to retirement age. Hey, you know, with living abroad, especially in different countries within Africa, or different countries within Asia, even countries within Europe and some Caribbean countries, okay? The Caribbean is not that cheap. I was born there. Okay, so I know. But in a lot of countries, you may find the cost of living significantly less than in the US. So you never know, the proceeds that you get from your property may be able to sustain you for a very, 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 very long time abroad, especially if you put it in a compounding interest type of account or a long-term investment account. Okay? So selling your home may not necessarily be such a bad thing. In addition to that, it frees you from the stress. Let me make sure that my mic is still on. It frees you from the stress and the just everything that comes with owning a home, you know, everything that comes with being a landlord, fixing this, fixing that, right? So it frees you from that. So if you own a home, you're not stuck. I think a lot of people think that once they have a property, they're stuck. You're not stuck. I promise you. So that's where I would start when it comes to the home part. The car, that's easy peasy. If you want to sell your car, go to CarMax or something. We actually went to CarMax to sell. Well, I went to CarMax to sell my car. I got a check the same day. That was kind of cool. I didn't owe anything on my car at the time. My husband owed a little something on his car when he sold it. He went to it through another dealership And what they did was they basically just got all the information from the finance company that he had it financed through, and they basically sent a portion of the check there to the financing company and wrote him a check there right away, because he was able to present them with a payoff letter. That's pretty much what you will need if you have a loan existing on your vehicle. You're still not stuck. You are still not stuck. Have the financing company call them, whether that's your bank, your credit union, a financing institution. Call them, say, hey, can I get a 10-day payoff letter? And they'll just give this to you. That basically shows you what the full payoff amount will be within 10 days, because interest accumulates daily. Okay. I used to work in the finance industry too, so I kind of know how that works. And I used to do stuff like that, like paying off loans and stuff like that. So that's how that would work. You get a 10-day payoff and you just present it to them, and they'll be happy to send the check to the car company, take the car from you, and give you a check if your car, if there's any overage that is owed to you. So that's very simple. Now, if you have an apartment, most people lease for about a year, and so most people will decide to move abroad once the lease ends, and that's definitely a smart choice typically. However, if you feel like you have the opportunity right now, like the time is now, the moment is now, and you want to break your lease, I'm not going to be the one to tell you not to break your lease. I'm a rebel. No, I'm just kidding. But we actually broke our lease. You know, we went, like I said, we moved to Texas. I own my home in New Jersey. We moved to Texas. At one point, we were leasing as well in Texas. And we're doing the math. And the goal was to move by March 2025. That was when our lease ended. But I felt like the time was now. I felt like we had to leave before like September, October of 2024. Like the calling, the pull was so strong. It was so unbelievably strong. I even had dreams, right? And so we decided to break the lease. We did the math as well. And based on what we would be paying for our new place abroad, right? Or lifestyle abroad, the monthly rent abroad, it just made sense to break the lease. Pretty much the lease was paying 1 month's rent or something like that. So do the math. For you, I would say do the math, write things down, see what makes sense, see if it makes sense for you, and if it doesn't. If it doesn't, you can just wait it out, see if you're able to sublease your apartment as well. That may be an option, okay? See if you're able to find someone else to rent it out so that you can leave earlier. So that's also another option. In regards to things, stuff, clothes, I promise you, as unless it's stuff like heirlooms and things that were passed down from your family, I promise you a lot of things can be replaced. Everything is replaceable, in my opinion, right? You have Temu, especially living here in Asia, you get it within like less than a week, faster than you typically get it in the US, right? You have online shopping, you have markets. You can still get nice stuff outside of the US, okay? You don't have to take your entire wardrobe, especially if you're going to a tropical place, a place with year-round, mostly tropical climate. You don't need all your coats and your jackets and your boots and all of those things. So sell it, get rid of it. You probably won't even need a storage. I promise you. I have met quite a few people who have told me that they have storage or they got storage, and it's like they've never been in the storage for like years. So the point is like, what was the point of having the storage if you're not going to go back for it? For us, what made sense, I'm going to talk about what mattered and what doesn't necessarily matter. I think what matters are like important documents. So if you have degrees, your birth certificate, definitely stuff like that. You want even copies of those, and you want digital copies as well, digital and physical copies. Your marriage certificates, death certificates, not for you, obviously. maybe for a spouse or something, birth certificates, your children, social security numbers, social security cards, all of those important documents, right? Life transitioning, maybe deeds, important documentations that can easily be traveled with, right? It's just papers. And that's what we did. We just took ambulance going by. So that's what we did, right? We just took important documents, things that actually mattered. Everything else was just stuff we just took. And honestly, I think I threw out maybe 80% of my wardrobe. I barely came to move to Thailand with anything really. Most of my stuff, I threw it out. It was really, really hard to. A lot of times you'll see things and you think that you will want to wear it or you will wear it. But I promise you, once you have gotten rid of it long enough, you won't even remember. You can replace those kind of things. You don't have to worry about moving with furniture and TVs and different things like that. Especially when you move to a place like Asia, most countries within Asia in general, not just Southeast Asia, but in Asia in general, most places come furnished with the TV, the sofas, the everything. Okay, sometimes brand new furniture. You can request it too. So if you don't want to sleep on the same mattress that somebody may have slept on, you can sometimes request a brand new mattress as well. So different things like that. I know a lot of countries within Africa don't necessarily have their places furnished, so you have to furnish everything. So that's something to look into as well. So you can weigh the cost, how much it would cost for you to ship stuff, right? Ship your furniture from the US to this country to furnish your place, or is it better to just sell all of your stuff and then buy brand new furniture in the country that you're going to? And sometimes that may end up being a lot cheaper because there are a lot of people who actually do custom made furniture and different things like that at an affordable cost, especially in different countries within Africa. So don't stress over taking your whole life, okay? You do not have to take your entire life with you. You can, anything and everything can be replaced. When it comes to selling your stuff as well, you may be wondering, how am I going to sell all this stuff? Facebook Marketplace will be your best friend. Let it be your best friend. I promise you. When I tell you we got rid of like all of our stuff, every single thing, except for a few clothes items that we decided to give away. But everything else, we sold it on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. You will be surprised the things that people will buy. Picture frames, fake plants, a lot of our baby stuff, uh, kitchen appliances, like cookingware, stuff like that, crock pots. Like we literally sold everything and we got so much money. The money, I think itself, was able to put, like, we were able to just say, okay, let's just use this money for like our plane ticket and different things like that. You will be surprised the amount of money that you actually make from simply selling your stuff, right? In the US, we are very consumeristic. Is that a word? We are very consumeristic, right? Consumerism is a thing. Consumerism is huge. And so you don't realize the amount of things that you accumulate until it's time for you to leave a place. Have you ever realized that? If you've ever moved, you would have realized that when it's time for you to move, you're like, oh my gosh, where did all these things come from, right? So start selling all your stuff. Donate it, get rid of it, okay? You don't need it, I promise you. So downsizing, start downsizing early, especially if you plan on moving within 3 to 6 months. Start today, like literally, like the time goes by so quickly. So I would start there. Another thing is, of course, you've already decided, so now you can really start planning, which a lot of the things that I talked about earlier is somewhat planning. But you want to, of course, decide on where you're going to go, right, at this point. Prior to that, here's the thing though, I've noticed that people think that they have to find the dream location, and if like a visa option is not available or a residency option is not available, then the option is off the table. But you can actually move somewhere else temporarily until better options become available in your dream country. So, your dream country doesn't necessarily have to be the first country that you move to, right? Your dream country can be the second or the third country that you move to. So, also look at alternatives, okay? So, yes, you have the dream, your dream country, but what are the other alternatives? What are the next two best options? Let's say that. For us, before moving abroad, I have already been to almost 30 countries or about 30 countries at that point, and I kind of had an idea in mind of the type of country that I wanted to live in, somewhere more tropical. I'm a tropical child, so didn't want to move anywhere where there's like snow and different things like that. Wanted to move somewhere that's very peaceful, that's calm, that I have easy access to mountains, nature, somewhat beaches, sometimes at least, great infrastructure, different things like that. Those are important to me. The infrastructure part also because we have a child, and so what we decided to do was we gave ourselves a couple of options. So Bali, Indonesia is one of my favorite places on earth, to be honest. I spent an extended time there back in 2022. If you follow my channel or if you have watched other videos of mine, you would have seen where I talked about I took a sabbatical to Bali, Indonesia with my husband in 2022, and it was one of the most therapeutic experiences of my entire life. And so Bali was on the top choice, Indonesia, and also Thailand in general. We weren't necessarily sure what part of Thailand as yet, but Thailand in general. And what we decided to do was we just got long-term visas for both Bali, Indonesia, and Thailand, and that ended up being because their long-term visas came out within the same time during the summer, if you look it up, back in 2024. And so we did not want a short-term visa option. We didn't want to do like short-term visa runs every 3 months and different things like that, especially with a family, with a child. I did not want to deal with that. And, just the risks and challenges that comes with that. So we wanted something that had a more long-term visa. And, Bali at the time came out with their long-term 1 year visa that was renewable. And so we did both so that we could have options, right? One for Bali, Indonesia, and then Thailand came out with their 5 year visa as well. So what I would do is I would look into, visa options, residency options, how often you have to leave the country. Is it going to be inconvenient for you? Is it going to be good for you because you actually want to, travel to different countries every now and then, once a year, twice a year, whichever. So look into that. Also, like kin citizenship, like were your grandparents from a country within Africa, somewhere from Europe, I don't know, from the Caribbean? Are you able to get citizenship so that you can spend long term there? So look into those different options. Look into long term visa options for you and your family. See what you're qualified for based on your income, because some visas are only accessible to certain people, whether that's based on income and different things like that. So look into all of those options and see what you are qualified for. I will be honest, the visa process can be one of the most like complicated processes, whether that's visas or residencies, permanent residency. So if you're able to work with either an attorney, especially if you're going the more like residency route, or a facilitator, let's say that, do that. Or if you're able to work with a visa agency, a professional or a reputable, I should say, visa agency, do that to make your process simpler, because a lot of times they can give you advice that you may not know, right? Or you may be eligible for something better that you may not know of. So look into those options as well. And also, of course, be mindful of scams because it depends on where you go. There may be some people who present themselves as one way, but they're not. So if you can go through a referral, go through groups, do your research online as well, and find a reputable source. Yeah, for us, the visa process somewhat slowed us down somewhat. And so that's why we decided to just, because we were ready to leave the US, you guys. We were ready. We were just like, we're out of here. And DC wanted to play around with our visa. Because when you're in the US, when you're applying for a Thailand visa, let's say the long term visa or one of the long term visas, you can't necessarily apply while you're in Thailand. So you have to do it outside of the US. But in any case, we were already in the US, right? We didn't leave yet, so we were planning to leave. And when I tell you, they dragged out that visa process, like they dragged it out. And so we decided to go to Bali, Indonesia in the meantime while we waited for them to approve it. And then they came back wanting more information back and forth and just things that were not necessary, even from like the Thai immigration. And so we provided those to them, and they still wanted more things, or they, it wasn't sufficient. It did not suffice for them. And it was just like, you guys just don't want us to be out of here. And so what we did was, once that was approved through one person, because we did it as a family, and you'll find that some of the visa processes like that, like you have one person, the main person or the head of household who applies, and then once they get approved, then the other dependents, and spouses, or the spouse and the dependents, they will apply under that person. And so that's what we did. But instead of going back through the DC office, okay, in the US, what we did was we just flew to Jakarta, Indonesia, and we submitted all the paperwork and gave them everything in person. And in 3 days, in 3 business days, we got our visas. Okay, we got our visas stamped in our passport. So if it means fly to another country to make your process faster, do that. Okay, if you're ready to leave. But that's why you want to start the process now. You want to start your research now, even if you are planning to leave within 12 months or even the next 2 years. Things with immigration do change, right? After a while, you never know. Within 6 months, something may change. Within a year, something may change. But you still want to start doing your research now, collecting data now. So the visa process may slow you down. So that's why you want to start now. The other thing I want to mention before I talk about, the different things that you want to think about, actually, let me start with that. And then I'll move to income sustainability, because we often talk about the planning stage of moving abroad, but we don't necessarily talk about the income sustainability. By the way, if you want to learn more about what I think about sustaining your income abroad, check out this video here, one of my recent videos that I did about how to earn money abroad. If you have no way of earning an online income, if you don't have an online job, or if you don't have a business that you can just take remotely, you're not a digital nomad, you're not a content creator yet that's making money. In this video, I broke down practical ways that you can actually create income to live abroad. And these are things that I have done personally as well. So I'm not just throwing anything out there for you. So definitely check out this video. And so since I already went there, I will say when it comes to moving abroad, having some money saved is a good idea, in addition to having income, like already knowing what you're going to be doing for income versus only having a few thousands of dollars, let's say, saved, and you have no idea what you're going to be doing. You have no backup plan. I would not necessarily suggest that, because you can run out of money fast. An emergency can happen. You can run out of money. If, let's say, you just had $10,000 saved and you're like, okay, in 6 months, I'll figure it out. That can work. Listen, I'm an optimist, okay? I believe that anything can happen, okay? I believe that anything that you believe can happen for you, it can and it will happen for you. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to give you that advice. I think it's irresponsible to say, oh, if you have $10,000, you can go and you can figure out your income later. I'm not going to say that. It has worked for people. It can work. But I would say definitely figure out your income. So whether that is taking your remote job abroad and they know about it, they approve it before you go, whether that's saying, hey, can you make me an independent contractor instead of a W-2 employee so that they don't have to worry about taxes and stuff like that, do that. Again, check out this video. I shared a lot more into that. Whether that is figuring out what you are good at and make a business out of it, whether that's consulting, right, sharing what you know. There are so many different ways today to make income online. One of the things that I shared was offering a service, right? Maybe software as a service. This is something that I do now. It started from my loan business, right? So I help small businesses all across the US get funding for their business so that they can grow. And I realized that a lot more people wanted to learn how they can do this, how they can start their own lending business. And so what I did was I set up another aspect of my business where I basically help them build out their backends, their CRMs, and their leads and their web application, their website, do all of that back end stuff and help them launch their remote business, show them exactly who to partner with, what exact lenders to partner with so that their, clients can get funding through and different things like that. So figure out what you are good at and don't be afraid to present that to the world. That is literally income right there. Your skills, it's literally income, and don't be afraid of it. Okay, again, just check out this video because I don't want this video to be too long. But the other thing that I would say is to figure out the important things. What are your deal breakers? What are the things that are important to you in regards to living in a whole new country? Because it's not an easy thing to uproot your life, especially if you're close with a lot of family members near you, maybe friends. So figure out the things that are important to you. Is it community, right? Community for your children, school, international schools for your children, maybe the weather, maybe a factor, right? I know that the weather was a factor for me because I definitely was not going anywhere cold. I can tell you that for a fact, okay? I wanted to be out of that cold. And so think healthcare, right? A lot of you may be healthy, very healthy, and healthcare may not be a big thing. However, if there's an emergency or if you plan on family planning, right? If you plan on growing your family like us, we are expecting, and we want it to be in a place, like I said before, that had good infrastructure, right? Good enough infrastructure, and the healthcare infrastructure here is really good in Thailand, especially Bangkok. So you want to think about things like that. Also, schools, right? Do you plan on homeschooling? Do you plan on sending your child to a school, an international school, a local school? If you plan on homeschooling, are there homeschooling co-ops so that your child can still be engaged with other people, other children outside of the home every now and then? This is something that we're doing now with our 2-year-old. He's only 2. He's not quite at school age yet, but I've already planned on homeschooling. That was more so in the US. I don't know, things may change here in Thailand. The school system is pretty great, but I'm pretty much homeschooling him now, prepping him for homeschooling. But we also take him to learning centers where he can interact and engage with other children. He's doing art, they're doing story time, and he's playing with these other children, right? They're all over Bangkok, which is one of the things that I absolutely love about Bangkok, love about Thailand in general. They just have so many things for children. It's so family friendly. So even if your child is not in school, they can still interact with children and do actual structured activities and being structured programs, whether when they get to teenage age, you want to put them in sports, or if you want your child to start swimming from an early age. They have so many swimming facilities here, sports programs. Hey, this is not a video to sell you, by the way, to come to Thailand. I was just saying what I like personally with Thailand, Bangkok. That's one of the reasons why we decided to move here. So figure out what is important for you, what matters to you most, write those things down. And if that country has 80%, hey, I'm all for 80-20. When a realtor is trying to sell you a house, they say, hey, your first home doesn't have to be 100. If it's 80% of what you're looking for, you can make it work. So think of it like that. Anyway, y'all, this video was long enough. I don't want this video to be too long. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, be sure to join my newsletter, my Life by Design Abroad newsletter, so that when it's time for me to host my masterclass, and different things like that, you guys will be the first to know. This is for people who feel like they are called to move abroad and you want to make sure that you're moving in alignment. You want to make sure you have the right support, tools, and resources that you need to move abroad. And within these master classes, you will also learn more about income sustainability, because I think that is very, very important when it comes to moving abroad. Outside of, if like, hey, if you already have your retirement set up and your investment account set up that you can get paid from, that's fine. But if you are maybe on the younger side and you're still in the stage of where you're earning money, this one will be for you. So not only are we talking planning and structure when it comes to moving abroad, especially as a family. I'm here for the families because I know it's a different ball game with moving as a family versus moving solo. But you also learn how you can create sustainable income, whether you are looking to get into content creation, whether you are looking to launch that first digital product. You have skills and talents that you want to put out in the world to get paid for and be able to do that remotely. This is for you. So I'll have the link below to join that newsletter. All you need to do is submit your name and your email. All right, beautiful people, be sure to subscribe, by the way, to this channel. Thank you to all of you who have already subscribed. Appreciate you guys as this channel is growing. Love you guys. Again, it was an absolute pleasure. It's your girl, Shy Bivia, and I'll see you guys later. Be blessed. Bye.